Hey, what is up? It is the Follow Up Media Podcast. I am Kay Lee, your host. I have a co-host today. His name is Ryley Alston.
Yes, sir.
He is the Vice President of Sales for Follow Up Media. I happen to be the CEO. I mean, I don't really care about titles, but, as far as legal documents go, he's got to be one.
You signed the papers.
Yeah, I did sign the papers, and I got the coin, or the stamp. I got the official stamp and seal. I got a seal, a little certificate and a plaque. This is our first intro episode for Follow Up Media. I have been the host of a podcast before. It was more of a pop culture entertaining man podcast, but this is the first episode of our kind of business initiative for Follow Up Media. Now, Follow Up Media is a full service production and marketing agency. So we handle everything from production, post-production of content, media, all the way down to the marketing of services and products and content. So we do, podcast launching, we do video production, we do sonic branding, which we're going to get into all these. We do follow-up AI, so we create custom AI solutions for businesses and individuals as needed. And we also do YouTube optimization, social media management, website SEO. We can, create digital ad campaigns. We can get you billboards, digital ones and static ones. But I wanted to kind of go into, now that I mentioned a lot of our services, but I wanted to go into, how it all came to be, and what you'll get from this podcast if you decide to listen down the road.
Tell us your story.
Well, I was born in New York in the year of the horse. Or Chinese New Year. The Chinese year of the horse.
I like it.
That would be 78, so I'll date myself. Man, wow. I'm an old bastard. Anyway,
maybe.
I worked for a syndicated morning radio show here in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where this podcast is actually being recorded from, at one of our 2 studio locations. Oh, I didn't even mention the studio locations. So we do have 2 active studio locations, brick and mortar, and we have the ability to record. We have an online recording studio, kind of like a Zoom, but better, that we do use. It's not my creation, but I sure will use it like it is. And our clients use it like it is. But a few years back, I started a podcast with a good buddy of mine as I went down the road. And while there were 2 of us, but it seemed like I was doing all the work. I was sitting down with my co-host and recording, but then I was handling all the post-production, all the social media content, taking promo clips. And what I quickly figured out was, wow, this is like a full-time job. It really is. My wife was yelling at me, get off your computer every freaking day. And it was eating up.
You need a team.
You do, but I couldn't afford one, everything that funded that podcast initiative came out of mine and my co-host's pocket. So we split everything, which did pad a little bit of the cost, but it still was money coming out of my pocket and I wasn't making anything, which is a whole nother topic for another time, which is how to monetize your podcast or monetize your video content. And we'll get into that. I was kind of at a crossroads. And then what I started to notice was that while I couldn't afford it because it was kind of this pop culture initiative, it wasn't really, and we brought on awesome guests that had great stories. And I guess if you build the audience big enough, you could start to gain some revenue from it. And it's got a lot of advantages. You almost, if you get big enough, you almost become influencer.
Yeah.
Which could be a great space, but the amount of people that actually achieve that is so few and far between. Yeah. I mean, if you make it to 20 episodes, you're in the top 10% of people who start podcasts. Mm-hmm. But the difference between that 10% and then Joe Rogan or Travis Kelce,
yeah,
with $150 million, 5-year deals.
Yeah.
That difference between 10% and that 0.001% is huge. And so, if you make it to 100 episodes, you're in the top 5%. But there again, that top 5% to the Travis and Jason Kelce, is massive.
Yeah.
So, but I started to notice, and I saw something I couldn't unsee. And while I couldn't afford it, I noticed that 99% of businesses still weren't using content on a whole for marketing.
Yep.
That could be podcast, could be video creation, video series. Any real, usable piece of content that they could use for thought leadership, so, being the subject matter expert, bringing brand awareness. That's a big thing that I noticed and thought about was like, well, if you're in business and you've been in business for any amount of time, you've already got a built-in audience, sort of, because your customers are your first audience.
Mm-hmm.
So by creating content that aligned with that niche audience, you could educate your audience on your product or your service. If you're a financial advisor, how to educate them to save more, invest more. And that will directly affect the money that you're managing for that particular customer.
For sure.
So after seeing that, without going too far down the road, I couldn't afford it. But I'm like, okay, why aren't businesses utilizing this modern, forward-facing element in their business? While I don't have any money, if depending on the business, hopefully they have a marketing budget. And so if you can get them to direct their marketing budget towards an initiative like this, well, now I can bring value. And so we launched a full-service production company that had a much smaller initiative. It was more focused in on, podcasts, like, to start with. But then, as it started growing and my team started building, all these other elements, which I have been hands-on working as a executive audio producer for a syndicated morning radio show in 28 markets for the last 10 years, I'm in my area of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Now having 2 studio locations, and one of the studios that we're at right now, the Blend in Alpharetta, actually has 2 different studio setups, one of which you can partially see here. Ryley's, and I could go through all the bells and whistles of this state-of-the-art studio.
But state-of-the-art.
It is. And Ryley, being, my vice president of sales, he's the man on the front lines that is been heading up this grassroots initiative of customer reach out, prospect reach out, evaluating so many businesses on a weekly basis and then establishing contact with them. And so, the landscape is very open for businesses and companies within a certain industry to really get ahead of their competition, wouldn't you say?
I would say 100%. And none of them are really doing it, like you said at the beginning, that 99% of the people aren't doing anything as far as creating content or even not even just a podcast, even creating any kind of content, no matter if it's podcast, video, anything like that. They're just
static images, even their social media profiles, custom, unique posts consistently, right?
Yep. You have to post consistently.
Yeah. And and we'll get into the old blog, the
ancient blog.
Well, blogs have an SEO benefit.
Yeah.
Like people will use blogs for the SEO benefit and not really care whether people are reading it or not.
Right.
But then again, why not have a blog that was of your own words that has the SEO benefit, but that people who prefer reading might actually choose to read?
Right.
And so, Ryley's been, crucial on the front lines of identifying a particular company that we feel has a lot of potential, and then reaching out and starting that relationship building, which follow-up media, there's a reason why follow-up is so important in every aspect of an individual's life. Because if you don't follow up on stuff, you get nowhere.
Yep.
Whether it be school, whether it be job, whether it be relationships, whether it be taking on a dog, having a kid, you got to follow up.
Sure.
And I feel like so many people these days ghost. They'll reach out once. They don't get the result. They don't follow back up.
They get
or they close a deal for ongoing monthly business. They take the client's money and then they don't follow up with the execution, or they idle. That is where I feel like we make so much, the name is our everything.
For sure.
I mean, there is all action behind that name. And that's what separates us. That is what separates us from the competition.
For sure.
I'm not saying that there aren't other companies out there that don't perform and execute for their clients. But there again, we go through stories every day dealing with clients who are hesitant or gun shy about, oh, am I going to get taken advantage of again? Am I going to pay $2,000 a month for 2 years and get nothing for it? It's a very one-sided argument. We only hear it from the clients. We don't really hear it from the agencies that we're dealing with those clients.
For sure.
I have a feeling sometimes those clients are sort of at fault for some of the things, maybe reaching out and they're asked to do something to provide something that never gets provided.
Right.
Where some companies might go, well, they never provided it. We would follow up like a freaking pit bull till we got what we needed in order to perform.
For sure.
But, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just going on assessing, the feedback and from clients and from some agencies that I've spoken with.
Right. And as far as the content goes as well, it's not just people that don't create any content. There is some people that I do reach out to that do content. And the reason that I reach out is because anyone can make a podcast with their iPhone nowadays. Anyone can make a 12-year-old can make a YouTube video of him doing parkour outside. You can do those, but to do it right, there's certain steps and there's a certain team behind to do the right things to make it a lucrative reason of doing it.
Yeah, that has a maximum ROI.
For sure.
Because you're right. Anybody can shoot a video on their phone.
100%, yeah.
But it's more than just the content, the subject matter, is one huge aspect of it. Yeah. But if you're not titling it right, you're not using the right, hashtags and call to action and descriptions for that particular platform you're going on or posting it on, well, it could be getting little to no traction, which is a lot of what you see. You might see, and I believe you've even said, you're kind of like, here's one that's actually making content.
Right.
And then we start to go through it and go, okay, well, at least they're going through the actions of generating content.
They understand the importance of it.
Correct. But they don't have the expertise because you can't know everything about everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why having a team that has experts, that's what they do. They understand the game, so to speak. They understand how to use the content on all the platforms, how to label things, what should be in your episode descriptions, etc. And so, the reason for this intro podcast was just to give you a little information about myself and my history. I wanted you to meet Ryley as well. But also, we wanted to let you know what you're going to get from listening to this podcast, what it's going to offer you.
Yeah.
Not only are we going to, really dive in future episodes about best practices, about the different services we offer and the importance of them, like why create content? Why do podcasts? Why do video production? Why do sonic branding? And we will have on, from time to time, industry experts that we will have join us so they can share their wealth of knowledge. Maybe some of our clients who are at the top of their game in their industries, we can feature their story and their services. And you know what? Sometimes we might have guests on that just have a damn good story, and that's from the streets to the suites.
I like
that.
Yeah.
From the hood to the burbs.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, from the slums to the penthouse. I mean, wherever they come from, if their story's good, we'll feature it.
Yep.
Because, that's where I think people truly get inspiration from. Nobody's going to get inspiration from somebody who's never had to go through any hurdles or hiccups or downward, spirals. The great stories that really inspire and give me the chills and pump me up are the ones where it's like, maybe they started off good and then they really fell and then they picked themselves back up and now they are truly successful and even beyond successful, they're truly happy.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not happy, even if you're super successful, there's so many cases and, examples of, success and money don't really mean nothing at the end of the day. If you're not happy within yourself and within what you do and what you've built, your family, your friends, yada, yada, yada. So, we're going to try to bring content that's engaging, that's entertaining, and that's also educational to help maybe inspire, but maybe to push you to move in a certain direction to bring more brand awareness to what you're doing, whatever that is. Could be a product you invented, could be a product or service that you're selling, or just, really hyper-focused on and passionate about. So thank you for listening to the first intro episode of the Follow Up Media Podcast. My name's Khristian Lee, my co-host. This time, he said so many words, I don't know if I'll allow him back.
Ryley,
He really
Alston.
hogged the whole episode.
Oh, yeah.
No, for real. Hit our episode description down on our YouTube channel. This podcast will be available on all major podcasting platforms. Subscribe, share it, and feel free to join the show. And you can do that by, checking out the episode description and just reaching out. If you have a question, you have a thought, a guest request, we'll do it all. Ryley might even play your favorite song. If you just request it, you might just have to ask him.
Yep. We can play the ukulele. Pretty good at that.
He eats corn on the cob the slow way.
The long way.
Long way. Thank you.
Knuckles and nectar.
Yep. Follow Up Media.